Hello, all my crafty friends. This is Tammy. My channel, Creative Girl Vintage, welcomes you today. And I'm making a Valentine Cupid. So if you'd like to join me, let's get to it. Okay, I've gathered up some supplies. Everything I'm using today will be linked in the description box below. So we're going to start out with this little wooden block. It's a 1.5 inch wooden block. And you know, we don't really like to watch paint dry around here. So ta-da, I went ahead and painted this ahead of time. I painted all sides of this block except one. And I used, this was just something I chose. It was chalk paint. This was Imperial. It was just a pretty red. And for the one side that's white, I pulled this out. It was a magnolia white. This is a point where you might like your little block to be pink or whatever color you love. So be creative there. You don't have to use these exact colors. Use what you have on hand. Okay, so what I did, my usual, I did a little sanding just to kind of smooth out the paint a little and distress the edges a little. And I wanted to give you guys a little tip. Whenever you're using red, I use this sanding block here just for when I use red, because what happens is, as you can see, it's very red. And if I go to do anything on the white, it just smears red all over everything. So kind of my designated red sanding block. And then I just use another one for just everything else. So just to save you some grief there, that was just a little tip. So let's go here on the white part. Just going to do a little sanding on the edges. Give it a little aged look, little vintage look. And of course, you know, I'm always pulling out my Ranger Distress ink because I think this looks really pretty on this wood around the edges. So we have a little vintage Cupid here. We have to make our block vintage as well. Okay. So there we go. Now, if you're just painting your block, it's all drying and you're getting it ready. Let's pretend that's happening right now. And let's work on our little Cupid. Now, my image that I used today, this is a Cupid that was cut out of a vintage postcard. And I love this, but I really didn't want to glue it on anything. So I went ahead and scanned it and printed it off. This is available on my blog for you. Just right click it and take it and print it on some cardstock and cut it out. I started cutting this guy out here. Let me finish it up. So he was real easy compared to some things I've cut out before. So just on your cardstock, so you have a little bit of strength there. We have our little Cupid. All right, move this out of the way. So this needs a little bit more strength, I felt. I just grabbed a toothpick. Look, you can grab even a pipe cleaner, a cupcake pick, whatever you have on hand, because basically we're just trying to give this guy a little bit of stability. I'm just going to cut the tip off that. Now you see why my scissors are ruined? That's it right there. All right, so that's good. This is going to just give this some security. So little bit of glue and just stick that on right there. Now this guy, much more stable. So while we're fixing our little Cupid up, let's do a little bit of glitter as well. Grab the Mod Podge, and I'm thinking I'm going to glitter up his little, I don't know, what would you call that Cupid wears around his waist? I'm not really sure. Okay, and how about his little headband and the heart? I want to say hello today to my granddaughter, Aubrey. You know, Aubrey is in 2nd grade. And she has her own craft room. I'm telling you, that girl's going places. Okay. This is my favorite glitter. It's my go-to. And let's just sprinkle our pretty little cherub, little glitter. We'll just set that aside because we'll go back to that little guy in a minute. Okay, now as you can see, we have some pretty little boa feathers behind our little Cupid. So what we're going to do here, I have a 2-inch wooden circle. I have so many little doodads. A little, I think this is like a 3/4 inch block, and we'll set this aside. We'll use that in a second. I'm going to put a dab of glue right here in the bottom of this circle and attach this block. The block's hanging off a little bit. You see that? This is really, we're making a stand because it's hard just to stand up, you know, this round circle, but we just made a little stand for it. Okay. Yeah, it pays to have those little doodads laying around. The next thing we're going to do, super easy, you guys. This is a little feather boa. And I'm going to glue it on. Kind of measure it out here a little bit, see how much we need. Glue it on to our circle. Get feathers everywhere. As a matter of fact, my friend Mary, when she comes to visit, she comes down to my craft room. She can't stop sneezing from the feathers that are blowing around in this room. I like my feathers. Hold on, I gotta reload. But I think these little feathers are really pretty for Valentine's Day. It just kind of reminds me of little Cupid wings. I love Valentine's Day. Such a sweet little holiday. These little shelf sitters I make, I have been making these for quite a while, and for all the holidays and all different types of variations for my Etsy shop. Enjoy making them. You can really get creative with these. Okay, so now we have our little stand all ready to go. Okay, we'll just set that aside over there by our Cupid. Let's get our block back out. Now, you can see I have a little rubber stamp on here for my heart. That's what I chose to write on there. You can choose whatever you like. I'm going to grab my stamps. I love these stamps. They're just interlocking. And you can see I put together my heart. I like the way they hold together. And it's going to go right here on our block. Kind of a good thing to do with this is do a little test run to do that. I am using a kind of a permanent ultra washable ink. The reason I'm using this, let's make sure we got a good stamp. That looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to stop talking a second while I do this because I have messed this up more times than one. Hold it tight, lay it down, give it a good press. Oh, here we go. Looks good. Okay, so anyway, back to what I was saying here. When you're using the ink on this painted wood, it's very easily smeared. This doesn't smear as much as just a regular one, but use whatever you have because what we're going to do, I'm going to use a little bit of acrylic spray. I'm just going to put a little spritz on this and I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, I just stepped outside to spray, and this is what I had on hand. It's just a high shine glaze. Basically, any kind of clear glaze that you have works on this. And once you do that, nothing is smearing, nothing is smudging. So it's really worth taking the extra step. So next, how about a little bit of red rickrack? I think on this one I had a darker pink that I used, but I'm going to use the red on this one. I'm going to use my Fabrifix glue for this. Even though my top busted completely off, but I'm still using it. It's still working. Just going to do a little line. The hot glue gets, I think, a little globby with this teeny rickrack. It's really small. And if I have a little extra glue with the Fabrifix, just wipe it off. Okay. Easy peasy, right? Okay, so we got that going. Now, let's look at what we got here. This is our pretty feathers. And this is our wonderful little Cupid. It's all glittered up. And this basically is going to glue right on top of here. So let's connect our little cherub to the feathers. What I did here I go again with all of my little pieces, but you could easily just put some glue on this and just glue it right down. It'll look fine. I kind of went the extra step and added this to the back, and he kind of like sits up here and kind of floats around, which I thought was kind of cute. Just sort of pushed him out a little, like a little dimension. So I think what I'm going to do, yeah, that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to connect this to our block. Right, like so. Okay, I kind of pushed it towards the back a little bit. Kind of use your judgment on whatever piece you're working on. Okay, that's in place. Now I'm going to lay this little guy up here, and I'm thinking like right here by his arm, I'm going to glue this little piece on. This is one of those little, if you're drilling into wood and you want to put a little plug in to cover up your drill hole, that's what this is. You know, I told you I have all kinds of good stuff. There we go. I'm just going to lay that on there. Whatever you have can work. I just happened to pull this out of the drawer, just looking for something for the dimension. And like I said, if you don't have anything or don't want to use anything, don't worry about it. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to put a big dollop of glue right on the back of that little knob. Lay him right kind of where I want him. Hold that on right there, just for a couple seconds. You know, hot glue is pretty instant, but kind of want it to stick to those feathers and everything, so I don't want him to slip off. Okay, there he is, in place right there. Now to finish this off, this one here, I used some vintage lace for a bow, which I have here. But there's a lot of different options you can try, just whatever you like. Look at this is a little check, little plaid bow. This is just some red seam binding. This is the pink seam binding. I like the way pink looks with red for Valentine's Day. I think that looks really pretty. And you know what? Since I did this one with the lace, I think I'll do this one with the pink. Just a little dot of hot glue right there. And pop it right on. And just to go the extra step to finish this off, I have these little bling it pearls. Now, I found this in the scrapbooking section, I think at Michael's. I'll look. If I could find this online, I'll link it. But you could use a regular pearl, a button, you know, whatever you have, just whatever you think looks pretty there. A little tiny rose would be pretty. And I always like the back of my work to look nice. So have a little heart that I punched out, my little heart punch here, just out of some scrapbook paper. And I'll put it on the back. All right. And always be sure to sign your work. And I had a little scrap here of this fur. So just to cover up the mechanics of this piece, slap some glue on. I'm just going to lay the fur right here. And as you can see, the back of the project is now finished. Okay. Here we go. Here's two sweet little cherubs. Thank you for taking the time to stop by today. It's always better when you're here. And I have more projects coming up, so stay tuned for that. So until we meet again, my friends, I will see you soon. Bye-bye for now.